Hi everybody, welcome to another edition of the 3ds Max 2014 tutorial series with Tom Hoffman. In this project, or I should say in this lesson, I'm going to share with you probably one of the most important things that you need to know when working with any kind of 3D software, any digital media software at all, and that is file management. And though you may sit back and say, yeah, it's easy, I understand, you save often, you're going to hear me say that quite a bit. But it's well beyond that. It has a lot to do with not only saving, but knowing what kind of formats you're working with. At various points, you may be bringing in projects, merging them together, or you may be sending them out for a different software package, such as maybe Maya or Blender or something of that nature. You may be creating files for a CAD draftsman that doesn't have 3ds Max, though you still want to be able to transfer your model to them. There's so many different things here, but then it goes well beyond that. We also have to consider the fact that if our project goes corrupt, we'll lose everything. So having adequate backups and naming those backups is very important, and I've had a lot of great students over the years that had fantastic work, but didn't do so well in their final project because, for whatever reason, they washed their flash drive, or somebody pulled it out during the middle of a save, or whatever. So, as I know, I seem like I might be preaching to the choir here. I'm going to go over some best practices for you as well as to how to keep your files from going corrupt on you and whatnot. So the lesson objectives, we're going to learn how to open, save, and close properly a 3ds Max file. We're going to talk about importing and exporting various models. We're going to talk about importing or merging 3ds Max files together. And then a little bit about proper file naming techniques and even some management skills in terms of where to save and how to organize things in a folder, because later down the road, again, you'll be working with external images and videos and sounds, and all of these things, if they're scattered over your computer, are going to just make it harder for Max to really perform. So we'll begin by looking at, if you open up Max, then you're already halfway there, because we know that when you double click on a Max file, it'll open, or if we go and open Max, the icon, over here you have your file management tab, that I like to call that, and we have several options which are pretty much laid out for you. By choosing new, you're pretty much going to be creating a new file, but you can actually keep the objects. So maybe you want to make a backup of some sorts, but when you hit new all, it's pretty much going to refresh the entire scene out. Hitting reset's also going to just wipe everything out on your scene. It's typically going to ask you if you want to save it, which in most cases you probably will. But reset's going to put all your viewports back, and it's going to move all your toolbars back where they were. When we hit open, it's going to ask us to go out and find the file, locally, pretty much, or on a server, depending on how you're working. As I always suggest, work locally. You do not want Max to have to transfer files through the network. Going right directly on your desktop or somewhere on your hard drive is going to be the best possible way to avoid any kind of corruption. When we hit save, we're going to save a file. Now, if the first time you hit save, it's going to ask you to name that file and determine where you save the file. So that's really important. If you're working on campus, your My Documents may in fact be a network drive halfway across campus. And if you're saving there, you're actually starving the program and making it work harder. And we don't want to do that. We're going to need it down the road. So always save it locally. And again, what I mean by that is right on the desktop, as long as you're keeping it in a nice folder, or in your My Documents on the C drive of the computer or the system you're working. Once you save it the first time and then you hit save again, you're going to automatically overwrite the previous version. Keep that in mind, because I'm going to stress to you how important multiple versions and backups are going to be at various stages. Doing a save as is going to allow you to take that file and rename it again, such as a backup. So these two are really the same, but once you get comfortable with just saving, a Control S is going to automatically save your work without having to come up here and do this. So again, Control S is your shortcut for saving. Now we have to look at the various types of importing, and I'm not going to go through all of these types. The ones that I'm going to have you be concerned with here in this particular introductory course is import, which you're bringing a non-native file format in. And I'm going to talk about those file formats in a brief moment here. And then we have merging. And this is where you're going to take one max file, a .max, which is what we have sitting in front of us right now, and put two max files together. So think of the word merging. You create your architectural project, and then you create maybe a robot for your mechanical project, and you were to put your robot inside the architectural project, you'll be able to merge them at a later date. We also can export. Exporting is the way to actually convert your max file into another format that you may need. For instance, if later on down the road, if you're in one of my courses, you're going to learn about Maya. And Maya is another great 3D tool that is really popular with Mac users. And the 3DS file that we export may or may not go into Maya, as well as the FBX file or the OBJ. So there's a couple different exporting files that I'm going to go over here briefly. Other than that, there's some other options you can explore, but I really want to focus on this part first. So when we go to new, or we go to open, we'll do it open here, you're going to notice that these files have the 3ds Max icons, and the type is a 3ds Max scene. So the rule of thumb here is a 3ds Max scene is a .max file. You could only open this file with 3ds Max. This is not a final product that somebody could open up with Media Player or put it in Premiere. This is a very specific file. Now you do have to consider backwards capabilities here. A 2014 Max file will not open in 2013. There are ways to save, and I'll go over that with you briefly here in a moment. There are ways to save an older version so that it opens, but the extension is not going to change, and that's kind of misleading sometimes. When you see .max, you really don't know what year, what version that file was made with. So I'll talk a bit about best practices and file naming there in a moment, but let's open up a file. We go to click over here, we choose the word open, and it's going to ask us to navigate out to find a Max file. Now I'm going to go to desktop, and out there I have a file called File Example. I'm going to click on that, and I'm going to hit open. So I've opened up this file. We have some just basic text. It's telling me this is a 3ds Max file, and again, that's a .max. Okay, we're going to go ahead and take a brief moment there to allow you to catch up and work with these files, and then we'll continue in our next video.